to. We need to talk.
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 Hey. Welcome. Welcome back to WNTT podcast, episode number 73. I'm host Mr. KOA alongside
Top Boy.
I recently lost my voice from screaming and doing foolishness at the cottage with my friends. Real niggerish stuff, but it was good.
Yeah.
We're just playing music. You know, you just whip people and just music's just on and you just turn into something else. Yeah, pretty much. So we're screaming, playing tracks on repeat, and then the old school reggae came, and so now I don't have a voice. But welcome, Chris.
Thanks.
This is your first official podcast, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not my first time like speaking on camera, but on
as
a podcast.
As a podcast.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah. It should be good. We'll drill you for sure. So what does Chris do in a nutshell? What do you do?
Photographer.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Filmmaker, host. That's the simplest way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Am I looking at you?
No, it doesn't matter what you're like.
Camera.
Camera's on you. You can talk.
Camera's on you.
Look at whoever you're
Yeah.
talking to at the
Okay, yeah. That's how I would sum it up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that I'm not sure who I was talking to, but I was saying we always describe ourselves by what we do rather than who you are, right? So you're a photographer, filmmaker. That's not who you are. That's what you do. Mm-hmm. So who is Chris?
It's very Western society of me to lead with what I do.
No, we all do it.
Yeah.
do it.
Like if someone's like, "Oh, I'm a photographer," like who is Chris? If you could describe Chris, like who is Chris? You do that by work, by trade, but who are you as a woman?
A curious human being. That's how I would describe myself. Like, I feel like that's the driving force for everything that I do. I'm just super curious. I'm curious about humans.
Yeah.
That's like the main thing. And filmmaking and photography and hosting, it just allows me to gather information. Like, I'm kind of nerdy too. Like, research is paramount to me. So all these things that I do is kind of like researching the like human behavior and just like how people interact, and yeah, that's kind of
hosting. What kind of stuff do you host? Like events and stuff?
So yes, I also have Good Conversation, which is my series. So I talk to people about art and wellness, and yeah, that's really it for now.
Okay. That was all I had for you, really. So we have questions that I put every week before these podcasts, and this episode or this week's topic was from stuff I've been observing. I've been observing people. I'm a people observer. I don't really say much. I kind of just watch people's behavior, and the dating climate we're in, especially now that things are opening back up slowly, but for 90% of this year, you couldn't see people, you couldn't go anywhere. Anyone who was trying to talk to someone during COVID, like, you're just talking, like you couldn't go on no date. You just kind of like, oh, let's just do this thing. Anyone who was in a relationship through COVID, a lot of people, from what I've heard and what I've witnessed, it kind of put some rocks into the relationship. Just like,
Has it?
Yeah, it's like spending. You have to understand, a lot of people, like a lot of couples relationships, most people don't necessarily spend that much time with their partner, depending on their schedule, depending on their career, right? So
Is that normal?
Is what normal?
Not spending a lot of time with your partner?
Depends on your career. There are people who, if you have two busy, ambitious people, like, it works for them. Like, for me, I'm a very
I feel like I don't. Let me be careful with what I'm saying.
No, yeah.
I feel like I don't, because I'm in a relationship.
Okay.
And I like my time alone.
Yes.
Like, I feel like, and sometimes I feel weird because I'm like, do I like too much time alone? But
when you said, is that normal, are you saying because that's normal for you?
Yeah.
But you're not sure if it's normal for other people?
Yeah, because I feel
it's
like...
normal for people like us.
Okay, because I feel like I see a lot of other... I'm going to say women just because I don't talk to a lot of men about their relationships, but like they spend a lot more time with their partners.
Mm-hmm. What are their careers though?
Yeah, like
what are
I
their
guess...
lifestyles like?
Their lifestyles are different. I'm not sure of like all of their careers, but
that's why
I like genuinely don't like it. Like I like to spend time with myself, and I like spending time with him too. But like it just, I like my time alone.
That's needed though.
It's definitely needed for me. I need my solitude.
Because I think so. It like relationships are it's interesting because there's it's a give and take depending on the personalities you put together, right? And I always, every time I talk about relationships, I'm always like, people have to realize that like when you enter any new relationship, or if you're in one or whatever, like you're essentially slapping two entirely different lives together and trying to make it work, right? Yeah. Okay, I like you for whatever. I like you because you're pretty. I like you because you're this. Yeah. I like you because you're ambitious and this. Like, okay, cool. But that's just the surface stuff. Like when we actually become a relationship, like we're literally meshing our lives together, which are entirely different lives, right? So that's where things like values and like time management and perspectives and those type of things, those need to align more than anything. So there are people who are really busy or normally really busy. When they get into a relationship with someone who's not, it crumbles because it's like, I can't change my lifestyle for this, you know? And you might, based on the relationship that person has, they might be used to their girlfriends or boyfriends bending, right? Yeah. So now you meet someone who's like, I'm not going to bend. Like, and that becomes a fight. But it shouldn't be a fight because like this is someone trying to maintain their individuality while in a relationship, which a lot of people lose once they get into it, you know? So COVID and the pandemic and all that, like there are some relationships, a lot of relationships where people aren't used to seeing their partner. Like they're used to that space. They're used to like, all right, I do my thing, you do your thing. We'll see each other at this time. Or if you live together, you're like, okay, well, even though we live together, we're barely even in the house together. To, like, we kind of just see each other at night. We kind of plan dates together. Now you're forced all day, every day, and you don't have that isolation that you want, either from work or from space. And like and depending on the house you have, if you don't have a big house, if you have an apartment, you don't even have like a place to go. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's like that creates a lot of.
Is that bad though?
What you're essentially saying is most people who thought they were in relationships were actually just a roommate.
True.
Like
true.
But is that bad? Like, are the rocks bad? Because like this is.
I think the rocks are perfect because it exposes whatever you were probably running from.
Yeah, and I think like it's something to work through. Like it's a different situation. Like obviously you're not used to it, but just because you're not used to it doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that you have to figure out a way to create that space for yourself in a different environment.
But that's from a perspective like yours. There are people who don't actually like it. And it's actually caused breakups.
But then, okay, if breakups are being caused, it's because neither one of those people were clear about what it is they actually want out of the relationship.
Absolutely.
Because, like, before COVID, like, me and my partner were having issues. Then COVID happened, and our relationship got, like, way better.
And from the time together.
From the time together. Because
in reverse.
Because before COVID, I was always busy and she was always busy, but our schedules didn't really align too much. So that kind of fed into it. But then we never had time to actually
address it.
Work through shit. Like because you know how it is. If you really wanted to work through some stuff and you're busy, it's like, fuck, I have to stop doing work, or I have to
fix this.
sacrifice this to deal with this, which is also important, but you know I don't get paid unless I do this. So it's frustrating, especially what all of us do. So yeah, like COVID really did expose a lot of rocks per se, but I think the people who
can withstand it.
I think the people who can withstand it, it will work.
Yes.
But I think the people who, and it might sound harsh, if it didn't work for them, it's because I just don't think they were an actual match in the first place.
Like actually.
Right? The match that they had was a match based on the limited time I actually see you or the perception that you see. Because there's levels to like relationships, right? Even people who, like, let's say Jamie and I weren't living together, that is an entirely different level of relationship too. Like I tell my boys all the time who've been in relationships with their girls forever, it's like, wait till you guys live together. It's totally different. Yep. Like living with your partner is totally different than
seeing them every couple of days.
Seeing them when you can, even if you see them every day. Living with them is a completely different thing. Right? So
do you live with your partner?
No.
Yeah. No. I'm not even saying this to scare you.
No, it's not.
Like
it's not.
I don't feel scared.
But it's like it's a reality.
I also don't know if I don't know if it's that people aren't necessarily a match. Like that could definitely be part of it, but I think that also a lot of people, especially in our generation, like they haven't developed a lot of communication skills.
Yeah.
To like adequately
talk through things.
Talk about like
how they feel.
Why do I
express.
feel bothered? Like, how do I ask for space while also making sure that my partner feels loved? You know what I mean? Like, how do I say, like, I'm not feeling this right now? Or, like, how do I bring up issues? Like, a lot of people don't do that right now. And a lot of people don't know how to do that.
But,
Like,
yeah.
So it's only going to amplify the lack of communication skills. And, like, with the options available to us now, just, like, through dating apps and through, like, how digitally connected we are, I feel like people are less inclined to, like, commit to working through things or, like, really giving it a good try of like communicating because they're like there's always another person, you know what I mean?
We're actually going to touch on that, but hold on, like I think basically my therapist basically demystified the whole thing about people not having good communication. He basically said to me that people can communicate, but it's comprehension they fail at. Right, so it's like everyone,
how you're receiving a message.
How everyone can communicate, but it's how are you conveying the information so that the other person actually comprehends what you're saying, right? Because there's plenty of times where whether you're a man or woman or whatever, like you said something to someone, and in the back of your head you know that it means something else, or you say something to a girl and she says, "So well, what you're saying is that," and it's like
it's interpretation.
It's like interpreted. No. It's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. But part of the reason why there could be a miscommunication there is maybe I'm not clear enough in bringing that information to you, or that person's just choosing not to accept what they're saying.
And that's a big scenario where people choose how they want to interpret what someone's saying to them.
I don't even think it's choosing. I think that everyone has their own love language.
No,
like you have your own way of like interpreting it.
No, that's not even love language. Okay, so there's love language where it's like this is how I love, this is how I want to be loved. That's love language. Strictly that. That is it. Love language is how I love, this is how I want to be loved. There's nothing outside of that for love language. Interpretation is I don't want to hear what you're saying, how you're saying it. I don't like it. Like, you're telling me something a certain way, like, you know what, Ryan, it's not going to work out because, like, we're just not on the same level, we're not the same stage. Like, not to disrespect you or anything, but, like, I'm trying to do this. Like, I have bigger dreams. I feel like you're not really at that pace right now. Not to insult you, but, you know, and me. But,
not to insult you, but your dreams are too small.
No, but that's a real conversation, for real.
I feel like you've had that conversation.
100%.
Yeah, I know. I can feel it from you.
So, but you could say it to somebody and they could be like, okay, what I think Chris means is like, I just need to work a little bit harder and then I'll be what she wants. And like, it's like a right now thing. Like, you know, like this is me choosing to believe this is what you're saying to me. When you're like, no, this is like a never thing. This is a never. And you're like, and yeah, no, I know, never, like for now. Like a now, forever for now. Until I get to, you're like, no, it's never happening. So people reject things. People hear things very directly and they're like, okay, I'm going to soften this for myself. Okay, this person's saying it's a little harsh. He doesn't really mean it like that. Oh, well, they actually do, right? We're not used to talking to people so directly, and people aren't used to being spoken to in certain ways. And because how I talk to Zamora is different than how I talk to you, and how you talk to your boyfriend is different than how you talk to someone else, because we all have these different conversations tailored to each person, we actually, like, I now, like, as of recently, the last few years, I'm just the same way with everybody. So, like, there are people who just don't like me. That's just how Ryan is. I don't like him like that. Okay, cool. But there was a time where I'm like, okay, this person's a more sensitive person, so I'm going to say stuff like this. This person, okay, I can talk to him. I can talk to him raw, because, like, that's my guy. Like, I cut that out because I lose track of myself, of, like, who I'm speaking to. Like, I'm like, okay, with this person, I can't say that, like, and then it's too much. It's way too much thinking, right? Because now I'm tailoring every conversation to a person, and that just messes with you. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like I agree with you and disagree with you.
Go ahead.
Like, I think that you can... I think that it's smart. Like, I think it's smart to like... I don't know.
Modify?
I don't know. I don't want to say alter. Like, it's not like you're changing what you're saying, but I think it's smart to change how you say what you're saying to different people.
Okay.
So that you're, like... It's almost selfish. Like, so your point can get across clearly. You know what I mean? So,
right.
Like, okay, they're, like, more sensitive, or this person can just take... like me talking to them really bluntly, like, I think that just makes my life easier, because if I talk to you a certain way and you get it, I don't have to repeat myself.
So you're doing it for you. which
Yeah.
is no, but that's like there's nothing wrong with that if that makes your life easier. And in the same breath, I'm doing it for me as well, but not for the same reasons as you. So you're doing it for you because you're like, I'm going to speak to this person. I'm going to tailor my conversation to this person, so it's easier for me to get through this person, so I don't have to keep repeating myself. I'm like, I'm not going to change how I'm saying something to somebody because I lose track of myself. And
trying to be different.
Trying to be different. So I'm still doing it for myself as well. I'm like, and if I know if I'm consistently myself, I'll be able to work on myself entirely myself all the time. But if I'm continually altering myself and changing myself, I'll never really be completely like aware of who Ryan is.
And I agree with you because that's what has happened to me.
Right.
Like there's been times where like there's people who I talk to in a more like sensitive manner. Mm-hmm. But like in actuality, like I'm not really
like,
that. Like I'm pretty blunt. Like I'm pretty dry.
Yes.
I'm pretty like I'm just gonna tell you how I feel.
Right.
How I take things is a different story because like I'm more sensitive. Yeah. But like how I communicate things is like, listen, this is just how it is.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna repeat myself. Like I don't feel like talking about this. Like this is just how I want to say things. But to the people who I've been more sensitive with, I do have moments where I'm like, man, I just want to tell you like. Yeah. Just whatever, you know, but then I'm like, oh, like I have to like make it like.
But you don't have to. You want to.
Yeah.
Like you want to, right?
Do you do that?
Not necessarily. No, not anymore.
You don't like see. It could be a woman thing. It could be a woman thing because women are taught to like make other people comfortable. That's what we're conditioned to do. Like.
Yeah. Yes, but at the same time, I think a lot of it also has to do with upbringing as well, right? I mean, look, everyone's different, but for me personally, I grew up listening to my mom basically essentially teach me how to code switch in different situations because of different neighborhoods we lived in and all this bullshit that came along with it. And then as I got older, I watched my mom just become more and more raw. And then I started having like more raw conversations with her, and I felt like I was able to connect more on a deeper basis. And then that just carried into the rest of my life. When I have raw conversations with people, I feel like it's typically not only more interesting, but more humanizing. So I was like, okay, let me just try my best to be my most, no, I'm not gonna call it raw, my most authentic person. Right. That's what I was doing.
It's called raw because people aren't used to it.
Exactly.
So we call uncommon things raw because it's against the grain. So like, oh, this is a raw version of what is normalized. So okay, I'll do what other people aren't normally doing. So I'm the odd one. Like,
and the weird thing about it is people could look at the whole thing as a negative, right? Like they could look at it as someone being raw as them being negative, but the reality is it's just them actually being themselves, which is rare. Which is not always common. Yeah. So that's why usually when someone like us three here who are, like you said, like I'm typically a blunt person or, you know, raw, you meet someone else that same way, there's usually a moment where you're like, oh,
you're like, this is refreshing.
This is kind of
like I don't have to drop anything.
But I've also done like a lot of personal work to be able to like receive that type of communication back, because my ego's not like, oh my gosh, like why is this person like being mean, or like why I'm like, oh okay,
so you're
right, like that hurt, but you're right.
You have an interesting dynamic because you give but receive differently. Yeah. You specifically. You just said it.
Yes.
You just said you.
No, bluntly... She did the work though. She said
no. Well, sure, she did the work, but she even said earlier, she's like, I don't necessarily like hearing certain things, but I'm a forward person that way. So like, you have an interesting dynamic because like to you, you're like, for me to be my entire self, I just say. That's how me. But also for you to be your entire self, you don't necessarily want to hear people just say. Yeah. Right. Which is an interesting dynamic. Me.
But I appreciate it, though.
No, yes, you can definitely appreciate it, but you're still like, God.
But it, like, hurts. Yes. You know what I mean? But I like the hurt. You know what I mean?
Right. So you have, like, a hybrid dynamic.
Yeah.
Me, I'm all the way through. I'm like, I'm going to give it to you because that's how I take it to myself. Yeah. So I'd appreciate, I'd rather you do it. Like, I actually am bothered when someone's like, you know, I'm just like, just please, like, do it. Like, you know, like, because I almost have to like drag someone to be like that with me, because they're so used to hurting someone or being afraid that it might come out a certain way. Like I recently I was on a date and I was like just talking to them, like, you ever talk to somebody and you can see the habits that they're used to and they're trying not to do it with you.
Yeah. Like,
Like, you catch them doing something and just like, why are you doing that? Like, but you can tell it's from a past. Someone probably said something a while ago. Now they do this, you know.
Yeah.
So, for example, was like, we're on a date and she's like, oh, I don't want to sound like. And then when people do that, it's like, it's because they used to do something a certain way, and someone was offended or someone was whatever, and then they've adjusted. And I was trying to break that. I'm just like, okay, I know what you're used to doing, but I'll set the precedent now. I'm like, if you're gonna say something to me, you don't have to think it's gonna make me feel a certain way. I'm not gonna judge you I had to leave, like, say, like, I'm not gonna judge you. I'm not gonna question why you're saying something, like, so you don't have to like fluff everything up before you just say something.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, I'm working on it. But like, that's what other people have conditioned you to be like. It's like, okay, like, when I am myself, then now I'm the bad guy, you know? So now you just stop doing that with everyone all the time. So, the segue into the question that I asked was, which you've already kind of addressed.
It was, what is the most frustrating thing about today's dating culture and how can it improve?
Yeah, communication. And like, I also think emotional maturity or like emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, I'm really big on that. Like, there are a lot of people and like, honestly, a lot of men walking around who do not have the same emotional intelligence that a lot of, at least women that I know, have. And it's extremely frustrating. But also, like, I'm not the best person to talk about this because I haven't really been involved in dating culture. Like, I haven't been like actively looking for a partner. I don't think I've ever actively looked for a partner.
Never dabbled on the apps or anything like that?
I've never. Like, I don't even know how to use them. Like, I've never downloaded them or anything. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really... It takes a lot for me to like someone, you know? So, like, I guess, like, you could. Like, you never say never. Like, I could download an app and swipe and, like, meet someone and really, really like them. But that's never really happened. Like, it's kind of just...
organic.
I've only liked, like, a handful of people in my entire life.
Yeah.
And I'm 26. And, like, I can probably count it on 2 hands, maybe even 1 hand. Like, I'm pretty oblivious to that kind of stuff.
So I have a question for you. You said that you've noticed that most men don't have the same emotional intelligence as some of the women you know.
As all the women I know.
All the women you know. How do you quantify emotional intelligence?
The ability to process and navigate your emotional space.
No, not define. How do you quantify it? You defined it. How do you quantify that? To say that he doesn't have the same amount as me, how are you quantifying that? Not defining it. How do you tell them? You know, it's more like your emotional intelligence isn't as high as mine. Like, how do you do that?
I think it's like the speed at which someone can come to their own like emotional conclusions, like in conversation.
How are you deeming that though? What are you basing it on? Your standard? What are you basing it on?
Yeah, I am basing it on my standard.
What standard is that?
It's a good one.
Okay. What?
Honestly, like
no, but I'm not trying to throw you, but I'm just really trying to dig because like that's another.
Well, I'm trying to think of like the men that I've talked to that their emotional intelligence, like I could just tell. I don't really know how to like, I guess, quantify it. It's more
because
like,
it can't be
like signs that you just see.
So I'll say this much.
Like someone not being able to pinpoint or name their emotions ever, like hardly ever. I think emotions, it's weird. It's a weird space. And, you know, sometimes it is kind of like, I don't know what I'm feeling. But when you can never do that, or you continuously refuse to take responsibility for the emotions that you're feeling and are always like projecting onto someone else or blaming someone else for what you're feeling, like things like that. But in terms of like quantifying it.
So is that necessarily a quantification of emotional intelligence, or is that an accountability issue?
It's emotional intelligence, at least for me. I can't speak for all men. I can only speak for the men that I've known.
Perfect. So another issue that arises in relationships that I have absolutely addressed for myself as well is the constant comfort in us wanting people to process things how we process things, right? One of the biggest things I had to deal with in my past relationships was I would get frustrated because how I want you to be or how I'd like you to understand something isn't happening how I want it to. And because of that, that would frustrate me because I have set the standard of what I would like you to reach, right? When really, I just need to find someone who also is what I would like to reach rather than get mad at you for not being that, right? It's not your fault that you're not that. I created the standard. It's you like, and you created your own standard. What you that guy, whoever this guy is, whoever these guys are, they to their standard, they're like, yeah, I share my emotions. What are you talking about? Like, in their perspective, right? When I'm feeling something, I tell her, like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? But to you, you're like, no, how I would like it to be is for you, when you're feeling something, you tell me this is how I feel, and this is why, and this, and yada, yada. And that is how you deem a fully explained, emotionally intelligent conversation.
But can't both of those two things be true? Like, can't you also, like, I might want someone to do things the way I do things, which it's not, like, that's not reality. Everyone has their own way of doing things,
Absolutely.
which is true. But can't it also be true that, like, they also have low emotional intelligence?
For you. You can't.
I don't know.
Because,
that's
yeah,
I think that's like
This is hard. This is hard. This is hard to follow.
And I can't speak for all men. I can only speak for the men that I've known.
Yes, of course not.
And like that's a lot. Like
it's a lot. So I understand. It's a very tough road because it's like there is no like this is it, right? Is the bar will keep moving depending on who is saying it, right? So it's like, to you, every guy you have met has been low because this is Chris's standard. So yeah, you guys are all low. Yeah.
But like, isn't there a general standard for things? Like, for instance, it's like you go to school and they're like, oh, you know, this person's at a grade 3 reading level, but they should be at a grade 4.
But those can be quantified because there's tests for that. There's these for like, so what we're quantifying.
I'm sure there's like tests for this, but I just don't know them.
But what we're experiencing in these actual situations, we're basing it on feeling, on emotion, on all these things that don't have numbers to them, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
but
so go ahead.
But what you're saying is you're a numbers guy.
I am a numbers guy.
You're a numbers guy. I just remember this because counting, right? But where I agree with the both of you is the fact, like, I think both things can be true.
Okay.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm right, by the way. I'm just
saying I'm right.
I'm just pushing.
The reality.
I'm fine.
That's just what I do.
The thing is, though, when it comes to emotional intelligence and being able to recognize whether or not someone has it or not, there is no right answer, but there's definitely red flags.
Yes, like
right?
that's what I mean.
So, for me, for example, the way I look at it is, if I'm with someone, whether we're just dating or we're actually together, over a certain period of time, like, I'm gonna pick up how they react to different situations emotionally. Like, fuck logic and all that shit. I'm just gonna notice like why how they react.
Are you closed off? Are you ignoring me? Blah, blah.
I'm gonna notice that, and then over time, I'm gonna understand why they react to things that particular way.
Right. The trigger points.
So for me, the way I guess quantify is not the right word, but the way I evaluate whether or not someone has emotional intelligence or not is after I've gathered that information over a certain period of time, I then say, this is happening because of this.
Right. You're tying it to something.
And because that's the only correlation.
Right.
Everything that happens to you in life as a human that affects you emotionally
linked to
is literally linked to something else in life. Like, nothing you ever feel is just
independent.
Just cause. Like, it's because of something else.
Yep.
So if I then decide to have that conversation with the person, like, I think this is happening because of this.
Like, you're bringing your findings to them.
Right? Yeah.
Like,
it just sounds like very scientific,
here are my
even though
findings.
It's really not. But if I say I think this is happening because of this, how that person moves from that finding will literally tell you everything you need to know. Because the problem is, it doesn't matter who you are. When people tell you about yourself, we don't like to hear it the first time around, right? It takes a while for you to sit on new information about yourself for you to actually say, okay, this actually might be true.
I'm gonna throw a wrench in though.
Or okay, go on.
It depends how much you respect the person telling you.
But that's what I'm saying though. Like, I'm not having this conversation with some. The only people I'm having this conversation with is someone that I'm actually dating, like my partner, or my close friends. Like, I'd have this conversation with you. I have it with Chris. I have it with all those guys. But I'm not having it with like an acquaintance or a random person.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean another level from that. Even in the relationship, like there are people in relationships who don't actually respect their partner's opinion of them.
Well, that's
right.
Well, then
you're my girlfriend, but it's like you're my girl, but like there's a lot of guys that are like, what are you talking about?
But that to me is a red flag. That to me is a red flag. Like, if you're in a relationship with someone and you don't respect them, why are you in the Why are you in a relationship? It doesn't make sense.
There's a series of reasons why people are in a relationship other than just respecting someone's opinion. I
understand, but the moment that comes up, it's like, come on. Like, that's kind of sick to be in a relationship with someone and you don't respect them at all. Like, come on. That's a little sick.
No. I didn't say it at all. Okay, so I'll speak from opinion. There's been relationships I've been in where, okay,
you don't respect the opinion that they
about
have of
a particular thing.
Yeah.
So like, if I know that, sure, if I know you're not tech savvy, right, and that just because you're not tech savvy doesn't mean you can't have an opinion about tech, right? You can still look at technology and be like, oh, I think this is cool because whatever, it looks pretty or whatever. Like, sure, right? You're allowed to still have an opinion about something just because even though you don't know about it. But I know myself, I'm like, if I know you don't know shit about something, I have acknowledged that I'm like, I don't want to hear this from you. Like,
okay, but right. Like, to that point, I agree because I've definitely been in that same position with that same thing. But that's very different to someone saying like, yo, I've noticed you react to situations like
same thing.
No, it's not the same thing.
I'll tell you why it's the same thing.
Why is it the same thing?
Because you also now have the same way I'm phrasing that is like, if I don't think you know me like that, then I feel like what you're saying, you automatically feel like what the person is saying is inaccurate.
No, but
you don't even know me long enough. You've been dating for a year. Like,
but I'll tell you why why I can rebuttal that though, because it literally goes back to the point about when someone tells you about yourself, you don't like hearing. Like, our mind is set up in a way where when we hear information about ourselves that we don't like, it immediately puts a guard up, right? So even if that information is true, what that person is saying, your first reaction will be to say all the things that you just said. And then usually what ends up happening is, let's say you end up breaking up, you stop seeing this person, whatever.
Right.
It takes months, if not years sometimes, for you to look back on a certain conversation and be like, oh, maybe that person might have had a point. Like, there was some truth in what they were saying. So at that time, you don't respect what they're saying because you don't totally respect their opinion based on other things. But the truth always comes to light. Like, at some point, that opinion held some weight because people who are outside of you can see you differently.
I also feel like when you're in a relationship with someone, that person's usually a mirror of yourself. So like the things that, at least what I found, is the things that I didn't like about someone else, it's because I didn't like it about myself. Like, you're attracting people to you based on who you are. You know what I mean? Like, if you believe in that stuff, like, I don't know, you're really about numbers. So like, I don't know if you're like into like energy and mirrors and like that kind of stuff, but like, it's true. Like, when you're with someone and the people in your life, like, they are a reflection of you. They don't just exist separate from you. You know what I mean? So it's, I feel like, I don't know. That's just.
Do you think, I'll ask both of you guys, do you think that that conversation is different if you're self-aware about yourself? Do you think that if someone's like, yo, honestly, it's more like, I feel like sometimes you're really stubborn when I'm trying to talk to you about something, but you have already identified that for yourself. Like, you know what? I'm actually stubborn sometimes, and it's something I'm working on. If someone now tells you that, yo, I was talking to you yesterday and I felt like you're really stubborn about a certain thing, do you think that guard's still up? Or is it more like, you know what? I know I'm stubborn, or is that something you still won't admit even though you know that about yourself?
From
what do you think? Like, if, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm asking you?
It depends on what the thing is. Why? But usually, like, so if I'm really self-aware in general. Like, I'm very self-aware. So if I'm self-aware and I'm already doing the work on it, then I can usually accept it.
Like,
I can usually accept it either way, but it's more difficult, I notice, if I'm self-aware of it, but it's something that I'm still struggling or like still working on accepting about myself. Like,
So
if I know...
if someone addresses something that you're working on, it's tough?
If it's something that I'm working on, that's tough for me. If it's something that I'm working on that I don't find that it's tough, it's just like, okay, I'm just doing the work, like, whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's a trait in myself that I'm like, fuck, like, I don't really like that trait.
And they address it
Yeah,
with you.
then I'm like, ugh, like, I still accept it, but it's more difficult.
Will you fight back, or will you say, yeah, I know I do this? Or will you still be like, what are you talking about? Like,
I
depending.
rarely fight back. If I do fight back, I'm not afraid of saying sorry or like calling myself on my shit. Like later on being like, you know what? Like last time you brought that up, I shut you down. And it was actually because like that's something that I'm insecure about and you touched on it. Like that's really important too.
Yes.
Like to be able to be like, you were right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that was actually like just calling yourself on your bullshit.
Yep.
You know?
Absolutely. What about you? Have you ever fought back about something that you know is something you do?
Definitely.
But in that time, you're like,
yeah,
I'm not giving you that. I'm not giving you that.
Yeah,
Like,
if
you're not getting it.
If I fought
And it
back,
depends on the situation. Like, if you're, like, fighting with them and you're, like, heated,
Yeah,
you're
like-
not going to be like, oh, okay, you're right. Like, you know what I mean? You're going to be like, no.
for sure. Like, I've definitely fought back about stuff that I know what that person is saying is true.
Yeah, if I'm salty, like,
yeah,
come back to me.
Like, you're not getting that W right now.
It,
But
it definitely happens.
have you ever circled back and apologized for it?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Or
sure
you-
I
or you
did
let
that
it
like
die?
2 days ago with Jamie. Right?
Okay.
Like it happened. It straight up happens. Look, straight up, the biggest thing with me is my attitude at times is a little too nonchalant, right? And I know this because it's literally a reflection of how I was raised by my parents. And this wasn't even something that I had to go to therapy for. It was just shit I realized like as I got older.
Yeah. Like, I'm this way.
I'm literally this way because of how my mom and dad raised me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not specifically hands-on. It's like different things. Like we're Jamaican, so it's like birthdays, all that type of thing, never a big deal. Like those things just became regular to me.
It's like
right?
they don't make my birthday a big deal, so I don't.
You know what I mean?
Like,
So
yeah.
over time, it's like I've had to
Recondition.
Yeah, recondition is a tough thing because what I've come to realize is, I will take the time to explain to people like, look, this is the reason I am the way that I am. It's not. It has literally nothing to do with you. I'm not this way because I don't like you because there's some ulterior motive. It's literally because of this. I'm trying to work on it, but don't take it this way.
Right.
Even though I make that explanation, I still recognize to myself that even after I've done that, some people won't necessarily be okay with that. You get what I'm saying? Where I'm nonchalant for this reason, so I might not show like huge love and affection the same way. That's cool that they can accept that, but they may not like it. Right. So I try and make concessions when I can, where I'm like, okay, I will put in the work in this area, but at least this person knows that this is why I am the way that I am. I'm putting in work. I think if you just have that conversation, it changes a lot of things down the road. But then it goes back to everything we were talking about before, where people want to hear certain things.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, I'm telling you this at the very beginning because I know from past relationships that this has caused problems.
Yeah.
Right?
Trying to get ahead of it.
That's really all it is. Like,
Yeah.
people don't want to go into other relationships with past baggage, right? Whether you were the person getting broken up, whether doing the breaking up. So I try to mitigate everything by saying this is why it is. And, if shit goes to fail, like later on down the road, that's where I kind of struggle. It's like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Because
Do you believe in reconditioning?
In some instances, yeah.
When you say believe in it, you mean like, do you believe in doing it? Like, you should.
Do you believe it can be done?
Oh, if it can be done, if you can recondition yourself.
Yeah.
I think it. Listen,
I think like anything else, you could, of course.
I think
Like anything,
but
it's-
I think reconditioning with like human beings can be done, but I think people underestimate how much work it actually takes.
To actually make,
Okay,
to
there
actually,
you go.
to actually do it.
Because that's it's hard.
Yeah.
Like it's
It's
hard because
It's
you're
not
talking.
just- it's not
you're
an
talking
overnight
about,
thing,
Like,
like-
like you're talking about things that you've developed
Deeply rooted,
as a child.
deeply
Yeah.
rooted values and
Like,
mentalities
It's
and
like
perspective.
there's like things in myself that I'm trying to recondition, especially just with my relationship with my dad and how that's affected the way that I interact with other men. And like, even as I'm like healing my relationship with my dad, I feel like I'm knowing these things up here, but like the reaction is so quick because it's like in the system.
Yeah,
It's already
ready.
Yeah, like it's already to like to just pop off, and
Yeah.
I feel like even though I'm trying to recondition, I'm like, man, this is like taking
work.
longer than I thought. You know what I
100%.
mean? But what do you think? Like, did you answer your question of like whether you fight back or you're just
Oh
accepting
no,
of
I
it?
didn't answer my question. So my thing is, I'm extremely self-aware. Sometimes so much that like I know exactly what comes with Ryan, to a point that I'm like, when when a girl or partner is trying to tell me I'm a certain way, I know I know my faults. I know what I do when I'm mad. I know what I do, like, so much, because I'm always observing myself. If I'm in a fight and something, I'm just like, okay, I'm in a fight with this person. Like, I so much thinking. That's how I am. I can't turn it off. But like, if I'm in a fight with someone, I'm just like, right now you're starting to ignore her because she's like, I'm thinking all that shit, all the time, and I'm like, okay, stop ignoring her, just start listening. So because I'm that aware of myself, like, nonstop, when a partner of mine or someone I'm just talking to says something that they think is me, because they interpret me doing something, they're like, oh, you're this, and I'm like, I'm not. Like, I know what I am. It's not that. It's more frustrating because I'm just like, that's what I was asking you. I'm just like, well, it's based on how long you know someone. I'm just like, I've known you for less than a year. Like, you don't know how I actually react in a real situation, in a long partnership, and like, so you're basing this on what you usually deal with certain guys that you date, and because I'm not that, you're labeling it as something like. But I'm like, you actually don't know. You actually don't know what I actually am. You actually don't know how I actually am processing this conversation.
I think that
Right?
that works sometimes, because I think that yes, someone can know you for less than a year, like they can know you for like, okay, 7 months or something, but it's the quality of how they're getting to know you, because there's people that have known
Definitely.
me longer, but I'm not having intimate conversations. They're not
Definitely.
seeing me in these vulnerable moments. And like, what I found that was really humbling is like, sometimes people who have just known you for half a year, I'm not going to say like 2-3 months,
Yeah.
come on, but like for half a year or like a year, they point things out that you have not been able to see in yourself, because you're just in yourself. You're seeing things from your perspective. But if it's a person that you're having really in-depth conversations with, they've seen you in vulnerable moments, like you guys are really on the path of like forming a relationship, like a deep relationship, or we're on the path of forming a deep relationship, sometimes the things that they're calling you out on, they're actually things that you do, but you've just refused to acknowledge that in yourself.
So I think
I actually agree with that.
No,
Yeah.
I definitely I definitely agree with that. I think the only difference for me is that I'm rarely vulnerable with certain people. So that's kind of
Are you vulnerable with your partners?
not all of them. It depends.
Why do you think that is, though?
It depends on the connection I feel with that person. Like,
So, yeah, like,
and that's why I'm saying, like, that is true. 100% what you just said is true. But I'm saying, but because I know I haven't opened up fully, I'm like, you actually don't know me, because I've already I don't feel that we reached a point where I'm like, okay, I'm really gonna like dive.
When do you reach that point?
Rare. I've done it maybe twice, but very rare.
So what was the difference? Why did you do it in those times and on the others?
It's a feel. I don't think I can really like say it took 4 months. I think it's just like there's certain people like you're with and you're like, I want to tell this person. Like, there's nothing you did. I just,
But question for you. So
Yeah.
do you think that you have, for the people that you, I don't I don't want to put people on the spot.
No, go
but
ahead.
It's like,
It's whatever.
for relationships that you've been in where you haven't been vulnerable,
Right.
do you think that you were in them, maybe it's somewhere inside of you hoping that at some point you'd become vulnerable?
100%.
But
Like,
you just,
like hoping that I'd grow to that point where I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'm there.
that's it. Yeah.
I've
okay.
definitely been in relationships where I'm like, I think I hope I'm gonna catch up. Like, you fall for them for a reason.
You hope you're going to catch up to where they are
Yeah.
emotionally with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you fall for them for a reason. You connect, you're this, you're this, you're this. But the emotional side of it's like, I'm not there. Like, they're telling you stuff. They're super whatever, super comfortable. I'm in it enough where it's like, this is a great partner. This is a great, connection together. This is, we vibe together. We have a lot of interest. So I'm gonna try this as a relationship because I am comfortable. But there's another level for me. I'm like, okay, but for this level, I'm like, I feel like the more I get to know this person, I'll get there as well, which typically isn't true. For me, I've identified it can happen for some people. They can over time warm up to a person. I know myself now. I've done it enough times. I'm like, you're not warming up. Like,
Yo, honestly,
it's either like this is a person you're like, cool, I'm in, or you're never gonna warm up. I know that about myself. You're never, you know. And because every time I've tried it, it's just like I just feel like I'm trailing, and then like and I'm aware that I'm trailing, and then they feel it because it's like, you know, when someone's not like in.
Listen,
That's
I
interesting. I've never experienced that before.
I could be wrong, but I just feel. I feel like if you don't know, like relatively, I don't say soon, but if you don't know kind of early in, that if you have to start saying to yourself, man, I hope I catch up, that's like the end of the relationship right there.
I think so. I know that now.
You catch up to being vulnerable with them?
Yeah, I say that, and I know that I know
like
that
you
sounds
don't,
tough,
because
but
sometimes you don't know.
yeah, but the reason
that's why it's
but the reason I feel that way is because it's never happened with me, and I've never seen it happen with anyone that I know where people have ended up in a relationship, not dating. Yeah. They've ended up in a relationship, and they've come to say, like, down the road, you know, in the beginning, I was in this relationship with you, and I didn't feel vulnerable with you at all, and it took all this time.
I definitely believe that's happening out there.
It might.
And that's why it's been tough for me, because I'm like, I've now acknowledged it's just not gonna happen for me. I'm like, Ryan, like, you are not a warm up person. Like you can identify certain things that just, this is not
okay, but that's what I'm saying though. That's why
I don't think
that's why
I don't think there aren't guys that can.
Yeah, I'm not saying that what I just described doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I personally feel like you're more likely to eventually meet that person where you just know.
Yeah.
I feel like
it's an easier road. It's an easier road.
I don't know. I don't think that's easier, because you don't.
What?
I don't think it's easier to
meet
meet
someone that you just know.
I don't think it's easier to meet someone where you just know that you click with this person and you're willing to vibe with them more than it is to. It's more common, I should say. It's more common to be with someone that you think you're gonna warm up with.
Oh no, 100%. No, I'm saying.
But that happens way.
No, of course. No, I'm saying it's an easier road to enter a relationship and just knowing, rather than to pursue the road of like, let me see if I can get there. Like, it's an easier road if you're like, we're both here. Let's move from here. We're both emotionally at the same.
So does that make me
same stage? Let's roll from here.
So does that make me harsh then to say that if you start dating someone, right? Like, is the answer
it's
to
an
this
easier road, not an impossible road?
No,
though.
but is the answer to this you just date someone for a much longer period of time without because like imagine being in a relationship with someone, right, who is already thinking, I hope I catch up to my partner at some point.
Right.
But now you're already in a relationship.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like for that person who's already ahead of you,
right,
I don't think those people are necessarily happy with the fact that their partner is in this catch-up phase.
Of course not.
So is it better?
But some of them understand it. That's the thing.
Most don't, though. Like, most don't.
That's not true. Okay, that's not true.
Yes, it is. Come on.
There are some... I don't know. I think that's exhausting. I think it's exhausting to wait for your partner to catch up to you emotionally and in terms of like being vulnerable.
Most don't.
100%.
Like
it's definitely exhausting.
Especially from like a male perspective, I don't think most women in that situation are not going to be happy, especially over time, with having to wonder if their partner is going to catch up.
You're using the word happy. No one's going to be happy. No, not happy. But I do believe there are women that are like, I know my man's not really the most open person who is. Like, I've met girls that are like, he doesn't really share his feelings like that, but like, we're working on it. Like, they're not happy about it, but they're like, you know,
I can't do that.
Like, you can't do. No, you can't. I can't. You can't. But there are people that are like, my man doesn't really share stuff, but like, you know, I kind of bear with it.
I feel like that like negates the partnership. Like, the whole point of like having a partner is like, that's your person to be vulnerable with. You know what I mean? Like, if now you're like, okay, I'm waiting for this person, like, I know they're not like that open or vulnerable, and then it's like, especially like for me right now in my life, like where I am and like what I'm doing, I'm focusing on my career and my work. And so like
You don't be thinking about that too.
Being able to help you feel more vulnerable and help you to work on how you can be more vulnerable, and then also having to give my energy to like the work that I care about, and then also like helping to like maintain the other relationships, like other friendships that I have in my life. It's like so exhausting. You know?
I made a statement to my mom last week, and that's relevant to what you're saying. So I believe us three are at a stage where not a stage, but a mentality that we all have, that we generally don't have the time to deal with people with trauma. We all have our trauma. It's like everyone has their trauma, but we all process trauma very differently, right? So I was saying to my mom, I'm like, I what I've dealt with and who I've been with, I'm like, I don't have the emotional capacity to deal with women that don't know how to deal with their trauma. I don't have it. Like, I've tried it where I'm like, you know, their moods are up, their moods are down. Like, it drains me. It does. You know, like, I'm not saying you need to find someone with no trauma. That doesn't exist. But you can find someone who has trauma that knows how to handle it, knows how to communicate it, knows how to talk through it, knows, okay, I'm going through something, I'm processing it, can you help me through it? Like, versus,
that's the thing. I don't expect people to not have trauma. I expect you to know.
Yes.
I expect you to know how to communicate to me, how to help you to work through your trauma.
But a lot of people do not. The majority does not. And while I was saying, like, the comment you're saying, like, yeah, like, I don't have to, you know, wait. There's certain women that are waiting on guys, blah blah. That's their trauma. They're not just like, I just don't want to share my emotions. It's like, there's a reason why they don't. There's whether their parents shut them down, whatever. There's a reason why they're that way. And some women women or men, can either be okay with that, understand like, okay, you know, doesn't really share his feelings because was kind of raised in a single house. Like, whatever his reason is to lead to this moment why he's not like this with me. And like, they can either take that role and be like, you know what? I know this is not his fault, so I'm about it. And it exists. I don't have the patience anymore. I've tried it, right? I don't have the patience anymore, even though I acknowledge, like, she's this way because her dad left her and doesn't have this and like, there's reason why they're this way. I can understand all those reasons, and I'm like, I don't want it though. Like, I don't want to take it. I think
it also depends on the type of partner that you're looking for and what you value in a partnership. Yes. Like, if you are with a man or a woman or whatever, and like, you value a partner who is a provider, and like, they got that. They're like, they make really great money, they have their own place, they have their life together, and they're really good at providing. They're just not as communicative, if that's even a word, or like they're just not as like vulnerable or open, but you don't value that as like top priority, then I feel like, okay, like, you might be able to deal with that. Which happens, yeah, if you're a type of person, like, for me, I really value communication. Exactly. You got to be able to talk about it. Like, work, money, all that stuff, like, that stuff is easy. Like, we can figure that out. But like, when it comes to people communicating and being open and vulnerable in relationship, that's like,
but that's something very personal to you though.
Yeah, that's priority. Which is fine. Yeah.
But again, it's Chris. Like, I need someone who can communicate because this is what I want. Yeah. Right? Some women are like, I mean, my man doesn't really talk to me that much. Like,
I can't even imagine that.
You can't, but I know a lot of girls, their mans don't really say shit. Like, their man's just like, yo, I'm good. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine, yo. Like,
no, the energy around that is like, so no, it's like not good.
To you, but okay. Anyways, so I want to try something different with you. Usually we go through these responses from the questions. Okay. I wanted you to go through some. Pick whatever. Scroll. Pick 3, and just read them, and we'll kind of discuss. So scroll.
And this was
from the same question today from what is the most difficult, frustrating thing about the dating culture today?
Okay. Some things. Thinking intimacy is mostly physical. That's true. Standards are so low that someone doing the bare minimum is a keeper. That's also true. Is this person a woman? And projecting past trauma into new relationships instead of working on healing from it on our own and with each other. I think, yeah, people have... I guess people have a skewed understanding of what intimacy is. Like, intimacy isn't just physical. I think this is also really true for a lot of women. Like, it's very, like, mental for women. Like, intimacy. I think that from what I've heard from the women that I know in my life that I've known over the years. Yeah. And, like, at least for me, it's definitely starts with mental and then it turns into physical. Like, I think physical is, like, not the last thing. Like, you have to be attracted to that person, But if someone is not a kind person, or if someone is like, I can't hold a conversation with them, I don't care how good looking they are. Like, it's just not gonna work. Like, the intimacy is not gonna develop.
Right.
I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I definitely agree that, like,
That was some Annie, right? Annie photo.
Yeah.
I don't even
have different understanding of intimacy. Like,
yeah, like I
intimacy
don't
is more
even
physical.
I don't even think intimacy is a word that's used commonly by men, to be honest.
Really?
I don't. Like, when was the last time you used the word intimacy with your boys, bro? For being honest.
Probably never.
Like, no, but that's... I'm dead serious.
Yeah, but like in an actual look, if I was to go through my group chat and search
you're not gonna
the
find that word. I'm
intimate or intimacy. You're not gonna find that word. Like,
that's not even a hot take. Like, bro,
Chris, like this might
That genuinely makes me want to like touch your shoulder and be like, I'm here for you.
No, but hold on.
Like,
let's just clarify.
Oh my God.
Let's just clarify something right now, all right? Because I think that there's like this misconception about how
women view things
in terms of male intimacy, right? So, of course, like when I'm in group chats with my boys, or I'm hanging out with my boys, that is a form of intimacy. I don't think we don't use the word intimacy because, like, for any particular reason. It's literally just something that's not built into our minds. Like, it's not.
So what's your equivalent of intimacy? Like,
no,
what's your equivalent of
that is intimacy, but we don't. It's not part of our language. You know what I mean? It's not something. I wouldn't say I'm intimate with my boys tonight. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it's just I'm hanging out with my boys.
But the thing is, but you won't even say it with your girl though. Like, we don't even say. When was the last time you say I'm intimate with my girl? You're not even saying that either.
That's true. Every time I have a conversation about intimacy, it's like
it's a female, even though it's not a female word, but it's a female word. Like, it's not. There's no female word, but it is. It's something that women tap into more when it comes to their feelings, their emotions.
So what does intimacy mean to you?
So that's a good question. That's why I want you to ask us, because we don't use the word, our definition of it might even be different than what you think it is, right?
Yeah.
So I don't use the word. I've typed the word for work and different things, but no,
for work.
No, but like I'm
oh my God!
I'm a fucking robot.
But I've typed it, like I've typed it in written work, like I've typed it if I'm writing something. But
I am dead.
I don't use the word when I'm talking about something. So, for me, I think intimacy is just, you know, the act of sharing, you know, just either physical or emotional moments with a person, and like that's how I view it. Like, you're either, to be intimate with someone is you giving somebody something more than what you normally give somebody else, like, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Personally,
how would you describe
it?
No,
what's yours?
No, mine. Yours. I agree.
Go say
that.
Your words.
No, I actually agree with that word for word. Like, I'm being serious. Like,
okay.
I'm not even trying to avoid it. I'm being serious. I heard you say it, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
like,
okay,
that
cool.
actually makes a lot of sense.
So
like, that's
yours?
how I would.
Okay, so what about
classify
you? How
it.
do you define it as a female?
No, I actually like that definition.
Because I would never. What you just said.
Yeah.
I would pretty much.
Okay, wait. Can we look it up? Let me look it up.
You look
see,
it up.
Like,
but what you just said.
Yeah.
I think it's also typically reserved for either your partner or someone that you're seeing, right? Because I would
like
never
something special.
Because I would never be intimate
with something
a random girl if I have a girl. You know what I mean?
Right. You're not gonna give her that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's close familiarity or friendship, and then it says closeness, which I like, and then it also says a private, cozy atmosphere. It also, like, an intimate act, especially sexual intercourse, an intimate remark. But, like, sexual intercourse is, like, the third one down. Yeah. So it's, like, that's not the first thing.
I like it.
But, it's... I don't even know, like, how I would describe it. It's, like, more of a feeling. Mm-hmm. Like, for me, it's, like, a feeling of safety, too.
So I would ask you, are you capable?
Whoa. What? Hold on. See? And that's why it's different for men and women, though.
Feeling? The feeling part
what you just said about, like, feeling safe.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm...
You don't need that.
When I'm intimate with my partner, there's literally no part of my brain that says I feel safe.
Yeah.
the only way that I can be intimate is if I feel safe.
Okay.
Like
okay.
if I don't feel safe, it's not happening. Like literally, like that, like safety and sex. Safety and sex are connected in my head. Like if there's not safety, like it's just it just won't happen.
I think I agree with what Zamora is saying, but I also think that what he's saying isn't acknowledging one point. We actually do feel safe. We don't, our safety, like for you, safety might be different in terms of just like feeling vulnerable, being able to feel vulnerable, being with that. We also feel safe. Like we may not be acknowledging this is a feeling of safety, but I know that like if I'm giving a girl more, it's because I'm like, I can trust you. Like that, which is a form of safety, which is, you know what I'm saying? Like, so we are essentially, for me to give you more, for me to be like, you're not just some regular girl, like you're this. For me to be like, you know, tell you about some personal stuff, like this happened in my life. Like I'm feeling safe in that moment to do that. Cause I'm not doing that with everybody. You know what I'm saying? So like, maybe I'm not acknowledging that like there's a level of safety here, but like there is. There's like this right now, I feel like I can do this. So I'm gonna do it. Like, we may not be acknowledging that we are, but like we are. Mm-hmm. There's something she did to you, said to you, made you feel that you're like, okay, like this is okay. Like this is okay. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? This is okay for me to kiss her. This is okay for me to whatever, you know? Versus when you're with someone else that you're not intimate with per se, you're like, I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna do this with this girl. Like, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think we do, in fact, feel a level of safety. But to agree with Zamora, I don't think it's an acknowledged thing where we're like, I need to feel safe before I can be intimate. I don't think we're like, I need to feel safe before I can.
But you do.
But we do feel safe.
But it's not a conscious
But do you need to?
Yeah, we do need to, but I don't think we acknowledge that we need to. Yeah. I don't think we're like you actually are saying like, I'm not gonna be intimate unless I feel safe. Yeah. You're absolutely like, I'm not doing anything until I feel safe. Period. You're acknowledging that. I don't think we acknowledge it, but I think we need to feel safe to do it.
We do, but you know what it is? I think the reason why there's that difference of you saying I need to feel safe in order for this to happen is because we typically take the lead from the woman in those instances, right? It's like you said I feel very much that same way in the sense where like I just can't have sex with a woman unless I know for sure that like one, obviously she's okay with it, but if I know that this is something she actually wants, then 100%, I think that's how it should be. But of course, we're seeing things come out like every week, especially in our industry, of how that's not the case, right? Yeah. And for me, like that is a form of the safety, but it's something that I'm not consciously thinking about because I'm literally taking the lead. From the woman. Like I know that nothing moves without.
Exactly what he means.
Yeah.
So we don't need to feel safe because we're not allowed to. We don't require feeling safe because we have to take that fear leap. We as men, we don't get to like you won't move until we're like lead. Like we have to go. And you won't come unless you feel safe with us coming with us. You know what I'm saying? But we don't.
Yeah. But we don't get. I don't know. I feel like maybe that's just me. Like, but yeah, I don't know if like other.
Obviously some women who love like the other way around. But even that, it's just as a man,
we just have to lead.
And the thing is, I actually like dominance. Like I like being dominant. But even like me being dominant doesn't come until I feel safe.
Yeah,
right. You know what I mean? So like even with me being more dominant.
The guy has to do something first.
Yeah, like there still has to be a safe space created, and like
which becomes our responsibility to create that.
Yeah,
which is why we don't require it because we have to create that first.
I'm also responsible for creating my own safe space, but like in a partnership, like I don't know, maybe that's like really traditional.
But no, I actually agree a lot with what Ryan said because as a man, like I'm more times I'm thinking about, okay, is she okay? Like,
Yeah,
is she
like,
okay with this?
You
Like,
need to create this.
I'm thinking about this so much. Like, forget everything that's been going on in our industry lately. I'm thinking about this specifically, and I hate to say it, from the perspective of a black man, right? Where it's just like, I've seen way too many things, whether it's in media or on the news, of a black guy being in a position where he gets in trouble for something that he necessarily didn't even mean to do. You know what I mean? And it's just like, that's a giant fear of
Like,
mine.
you want to make sure it's so clear.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a giant
so
fear of mine.
clear.
I don't even feel comfortable, right? If I don't know that it's crystal clear.
Yes, same.
But even then, I'm not thinking about my own safety or comfortability.
Yes, it's not a priority right now.
Because I'm not. I'm
Yes.
too busy thinking about, okay. And it's not even like I'm thinking about that so much because I really want to be with this girl that bad. It's because
you want to save your ass.
I want to save my ass.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to put anyone in any position
100.
where this can go downhill.
100%.
You know what I mean?
I have a thing. I'm gonna ask you if you've done it before. It's kind of personal, but it's not that crazy.
Okay.
Have you ever been with a guy, and you're kissing and touching, doing whatever, and he puts his hand down towards your vagina, and you stopped him? And not stopped him because you didn't actually want to have sex, just stopped him out of reaction.
I don't think so. But that's because...
You know by that point.
Yeah. Like, if it's happening, it's because, like, I actually want it to happen. You know
So
what I mean?
you've never ever stopped a guy's hand?
I don't think so. But I have stopped, like, in the middle of something.
Yeah.
Because, like, something just, like, happened, and I was like, nah, this just feels off.
That's fine. If you already even do... I'm talking about, like pre, where it's like, you're kissing, you're touching to feeling to... The hand goes, and you stop a hand. Have you ever stopped a hand? No? Okay, cool. So, I have been stopped by, like, a hand. My hand been stopped. And when that happens, I'm off. I'm done. I'm, like, off. I'm not the guy that's like, bro, like, it's so off that, like, even if a girl's like, oh, I didn't mean that, I'm like, yo, like, it hits me in such a way that I'm like, even if it was an accident, like, I need to get up and go get for what? Like, I can't, like, I've had girls stop me and be like, no, I didn't mean to. I'm just like, you know what? Like,
Yo, Ryan.
And I literally, my mood's done. Like, it's so done that I'm like, I'm gonna get up.
Ryan,
I'm gonna get some more.
I'll give you an example of, like, how the extreme of
Serious.
that. Right? So, because this even applies to when you're in a relationship with someone, right? And there have been...
Wait, I think I have had a time like that.
Okay.
What happened? It was a long time ago, though. I think... he was definitely like, are you good? Like, I could feel it. He was like, whoa, like, what's going on, kind of thing, you know what I mean? So yeah, like, I think that makes sense. Like, I've had a situation like that.
So, like, this is my example, right?
And I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, literally after I was like, I'm good. And he was like, are you sure? Like, it was like...
But this is the problem that comes with it, though, right? So, I've been in a situation with my partner where, you know, me and my partner are trying to sleep with each other, and I initiate it, and my partner says, like, not tonight, I'm not in the mood. And I literally just, like, I'm so off it, I'm like, okay, cool. And I just go about and do my business. But it's come across like...
Like, you don't care?
No, it's come across like, because we aren't having sex, I no longer...
Want to touch.
I don't care. I don't care to be intimate or any of these things.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, like, you don't understand.
You can't just switch it.
I can't just switch.
Yeah.
And I don't know if a lot of women understand this because
they don't.
Even if you're my partner,
and
you tell me, like, I've initiated it,
yes.
right? Like, I've initiated it, and you say, I don't feel like having sex tonight. I respect that so much that I'm just like, yo, I need to go
I'm off it.
Play video games, go edit, do something else,
bro.
Because I don't want this to turn into something where it's like I've coerced you,
even a little bit.
Even if I've known you for years,
I don't even want you to feel guilty, like
exactly
the fact that okay, now he's not in the mood. Oh, now I shouldn't have said no. Like none of that. Like you can say no, you can stop, and I'm gonna leave. Like because
that's really good because I've had guys make me feel guilty.
I know they do.
We know it happened.
We know. I know
like,
that.
Legit, I felt like, oh shit, like I just felt uncomfortable, so that's why I stopped. But like now they are like salty.
Exactly.
And like
shit.
And
those are dangerous guys. Those are the guys. Oh, come on, like those are the worst guys. Like, and it's like the same reason more and I are talking about. It's like there's levels to men. and it comes from upbringing, it comes from how we're raised, it comes from what we see and what we choose to absorb. Because there are guys, there are girls like, oh, I'm not really feeling it. Yo, come on, yo, what are you doing? Like there are guys that press and press and press, and then now the girl's like, she's uncomfortable, but she's like, if I don't do this, I don't know how this ends. If I don't do, and that's how the after rape things happen, and like I did it, but I felt like I was raped, and like all those things, like, and people are like, well, why'd you have sex? It's like, you don't understand these scenarios. Like, they had sex because they literally felt like,
pressure.
If I didn't, I don't know what this guy's gonna do. I don't know if he's gonna break up with me. I don't, like, you don't know anything.
Yeah, and it wasn't
right?
even like, oh, I felt like he was gonna force me, but I literally felt like
It's just
shit
the
because
move.
it was like he just was like.
It's just the move. Because the thing is, even when like there's also another level to it. When the girl says no, you can't make her feel bad about saying no.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
Because there's when the girl's like, oh, I'm not really feeling it. Where guys like, alright, whatever. Like, and now you're like, wow, okay.
That's what it was like.
Right?
I was like, oh, like.
For me, if a girl's like, oh, I'm not really, or I'm like, cool, no, like, yo, honestly, no worries. And they're like, and then they'll like ask me like, are you mad? I'm like, yo, I'm not mad. Like, please,
it's that reassuring process
like,
too.
You need to do it because like. Girls really like, are you mad? I'm like, yo, I'm not mad. Like, I need you to know, like, I'm not mad. You're allowed to not want to do this. Like, I've had sex before. It's not like the end of the world. Like, it's sex. Like, and they're like, okay, cool. And that helps because, like, it's just that moment that, like, once someone's uncomfortable, I'm off it. Like,
yeah.
And I know you're saying, like, yeah, after I was like, oh, I just, the initial reaction of saying no turns me off so much that we are done. So I've actually told girls, like, after that happened, like, I'm like, for the next, when I have sex tonight, for the next time, I'm like, if you stop me, a stop is a hard stop for me.
Yeah.
So if you actually want us to do it, please don't stop me, because I don't have the ability to be like, oh, she stopped me, but didn't actually mean it. It was just a reaction. Like, I can't.
There's too much ambiguity in that. Like,
yeah. Like,
I treat, like, I think sex is as casual as it can be. Obviously, a woman is literally letting like. It's a crazy act when you think about it, right? Like,
I don't find it casual.
No,
like,
no. Like, when I say,
he just means like,
when I say, because we know people are having casual sex and they actually treat it as a casual thing, right? Even though there can be a lot of repercussions to it, but the reality is, I don't look at sex as anything other than it being pretty serious, even if it's someone I want to just hook up with, because the reality is. And as vulgar as it is, this woman is literally letting me enter her.
Yeah,
right?
So it's like, true. It's just facts.
So it's like, even if you believe in like the spiritual side of it and like energies exchanging, like all these things are happening, and it's like it can go wrong very quickly if someone is just not feeling right about it. Right?
Yeah.
And you know, actually, you know what? I don't think I ever told you this story, right? So this was the one time where I truthfully understood from a woman's perspective the uncomfortability side of it, right? So have you ever had like a woman try to guilt you into having sex?
Like trying to pressure me?
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, so
I don't know why I said of course like that.
Yeah.
But there's women that are crazy. Like, to me it's so normal. I'm like, yeah, they're nuts. Like,
okay, so
but yes, I have.
So take this in, like I think it was like last year and a half ago, while I'm in a relationship with Jamie, right? She knows this whole story. I have to like preface this so I don't like, incriminate people, but essentially there was a party and everyone was drinking, obviously. People wanted to go to another place after. It was Kensington. That's where they wanted to go. We all show up. None of my boys that I knew from this particular workplace ended up coming. So it was me and like a bunch of these other girls that I worked with, right? One girl in particular she wasn't hammered, but she was kind of drunk. And I had this feeling that something fishy was going on. Right? I was like, I don't know why like this is happening, but whatever. It's like 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, you know what?
Wait, your girl wasn't there. It was just you.
No, my girl she wasn't there because
Okay.
she was at home, right? I'm like, you know what? I didn't get home soon. All the other girls from this workplace, they had already left. Like they left to go somewhere else. So when I come out the washroom, I realize it's just me and this other girl. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, fuck, dude, I want to go home.
Yeah.
But she's fucking...
You want to leave her like that? Yeah.
Because I would see her like every other day, and she's like, "What is it?" And I know what I used to work at bars. Like, I know what happens with
you leave a drunk girl there.
Drunk girls there. Like I know what happens unless there's someone there that's gonna say something. Like girls gonna get harassed, all this shit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what?
You put the noble hat on.
So I said to him like, "Yo, I'll give you a ride home."
Yeah.
Not even in the same direction that I'm going. I live in the West End.
Just to help.
But I'm just like, yo, I need to get this girl because like it will actually
your own
bother
conscience.
me.
Yeah, I can't leave her at the bar.
So I get to her place. I don't get out the car, right? And she's like asking me to come upstairs, and I'm like, I'm literally saying like, no. I'm like, I can't. One, you know that I have a girlfriend, and two, I'm just not doing this.
Yeah.
And three, I'm like, you're drunk. Like, this is crazy.
The list continues.
And then this is where it gets crazy. And I had to do this as a guy and a black guy. In my head, I'm like, yo, let me record this, because I was like one,
the audio of it.
Yeah, I'm like, let me record the audio of this, because I was like, yo, this is actually like a really scary situation for me that I was in, because I was like, yo, even though I know nothing is gonna happen from this point, I literally have no clue. Like,
what she's gonna remember.
I've only seen the worst case scenarios of this, where like someone says like, "Yo, this happened," and I know it didn't happen, and literally, she's physically like trying to coerce me to come upstairs, and I'm like, "Yo, like,
that's crazy."
If I wasn't a dude who's much bigger than her, the roles reverse of this is actually insane.
Yeah.
Like, I always knew that it was fucked up when guys do this to women, but actually feeling it, I was like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe that people do this. And one, this was someone that I knew that was doing this. So clearly she had always been wanting to, like, after conversations that I heard. But I was like, yo, this is insane. So then I go back home and I tell my partner about this whole situation. My partner's like, yo, this is actually like really fucked up, right? Because technically it was like sexual assault based on the shit that she was trying to do, like, in the car. And I was like, man, just me saying no wasn't enough. But the roles reverse. It's like a woman will say no, and in my head, that should just be the end all be of it.
Right.
And for some people, it's clearly not. And it was just a crazy situation. So it's like when I either hear no or I get the stop, like, that's the end of it.
Hard stop.
It's the hardest to stop. Like, I agree with you so much on that.
Yeah.
And I just wish that girls in some situations would understand that hard stop is not a result of us saying, I no longer fuck with you or I no longer want to be with you. It's just our safety and comfortability is also just as important. You know, like,
you can't pump fake sex, bro.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've never felt that way where a guy would just stop and then like I feel like I don't know. Like, I feel like your comfort is important. Like,
yeah, but
that's
like
how
we've definitely been in that position. Like I've actually had a girl tell me like, so like, you don't want to hang, and I'm like, no, that's literally not it. I don't want to have sex. Yeah, we can go do something else. But like, I just don't want that. I can't do it. Like, I'm off of it now, and it's like a weird conversation to even have, but it needs to be had.
Let me see. People who give up on each other too easily. Obviously, if you fight a lot, either fix that shit or break up. But too often, people give up instead of getting by one major issue. Work your way through that. If you have the issue and it's conquerable, then you can take on the rest of the world after it. How do you guys feel about that? And like, when do you feel like
it's too much?
Exactly.
Like, there's a limit.
Yeah, but when is the limit?
Need a limit.
I think everyone has a limit, and they're all very different.
Yes.
I don't think that you can quantify, to be honest with you, because we've seen people who are in what looks like fucked up relationships, but for whatever reason, they're the ones that have been in relationships the longest.
40 years.
So yeah, I don't know.
How do you deal with something if like you think, nah, like, I don't know if, like, I think this is it, and your partner doesn't feel that way? Like, your partner feels like...
That's what we call manipulative. Like, what's clearly happening is I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. Like, I know in my head I don't want to be, and the only reason... I'm in it is because this person is saying like, no, we need to make this work.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't want
actually want to make it work.
I don't want to make it work, but I'm feeling guilted into trying to make it work.
Stay.
Right?
You stay because they've convinced you that you can fix it.
Like,
when
I think
you know you can't fix it.
Because what's happened is there was the previous generation.
How do you know that you can't fix it?
You just know, like, you just know, like.
No, you need to quantify.
No, you can, because it's different for everyone.
It's so different.
This is how. Look, we had a previous generation that we were raised by or saw where these people didn't get divorces.
They stay.
They just stayed in these relationships.
They hate each other.
And it's like, as you
But
get,
I think you do know. Like, I think you know when you feel like your mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual health is at risk.
It's
like, when you start feeling like, yo, like I'm feeling like.
Wait, are you agreeing with him? You're saying you do know?
No, she's not. Well, because I'm saying.
You're saying you just know. That's
yeah,
what I'm saying.
You just know.
So you're agreeing.
I'm saying, like, I feel like you're saying, like, you don't. There's not really a way to like.
I don't
like,
think there's like a
feeling.
checklist. I don't think there's. Yeah, I think it's a feeling, but I don't think there's a list of.
Because you're saying there's a moment where you feel like I'm emotionally out of it, and he's just like you're asking how do you get? He's like, you just know, which is what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I'm saying like
there's a moment where you're like, I don't know,
but there's like things that you can check off to get to that point where you know.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is like when you feel like
we're constantly evaluating our relationship nonstop, right? Subconsciously or consciously. So it's like whether you want to or not, every fight you have either does a check or an X based on how you solved it, right?
I think also like I measure how many things are actually changing after we communicate about things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I don't like saying the same thing over and over again and nothing's changing.
Yeah.
That is like
draining.
It's so aggravating to me.
Yeah.
I will nitpick.
Yeah.
I do not give a fuck. I will nitpick you. Like if I mentioned it to you before, fix it.
Yeah.
Change it. That's just what I expect. So if it's like we're talking about this over and over and it's not changing, there's a certain level where like
how many times can I do this?
If you had to just actually throw out a number,
I would want to say 3, but I'm gonna say 5. Like that's just what I'm saying.
So like someone can do the exact same thing to Chris 5 times in a row before she's over it.
Yeah, like
someone could do the exact same thing you've been talking about 5 times. But
it's not like it's 5 times like within a 2-week span. It's like 5 times over like a period of time where I'm just like, yo, we've had this conversation 5 times this year, and it hasn't.
That's even worse.
I don't think it's. I don't think it's the worst.
I would rather 5 times in a row because it's like.
No, but you got to give people the time to change.
No, but that's why I'm saying it's worse because they're taking the time and still not doing it. I would rather 5 times immediately in a row. Where you're like, I just missed it again.
If it's like a red flag thing and you bring it up and then it doesn't change and it's been like 1 to 3 times, then it's like, hey, no. But if it's like something that's not
like mundane, like
exactly,
pick up your clothes
but like a little bit more than that, like then I feel like I can let it.
Okay, what is something you could deal with 5 times in a row? What can someone do to you 5 times in a row before breaking?
Right. You know what's crazy? You said a little something more than that when I said clothes on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, wait till you live with a partner. There are things that you think that were mundane or like not that big of a deal, and it'll become a very.
You see one more T-shirt on your freaking couch. One more.
If I come home and see you wearing my shirt one more time,
oh my god,
my good shirt one more time,
doing dishes in it.
Yo,
you're doing dishes in my button up. What are you doing?
Like for me, it's like okay, if you say that you're gonna call me at a certain time and then you don't call me at that time, like that's something that like you say you're gonna call me at like 8 and you always call me like at 10, and I'm like. This is something that I need to work on, but like I'm using myself as an example. You know what I mean? Like you can let it happen like 5 times. So
you can take 5 of those late calls, and then you're like,
and then I'm like,
it's over.
5 of those late. Well, yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it's just one of those things where it's like you need to change it. They need to change it.
You didn't call me on time 5 times in a row, so we're done.
Come on, respect my time.
It's a phone call.
Yo, some people are different.
Respect my time.
It's a phone
I feel
call.
the same way though, but like I'm gonna also try to do that.
Oh, I get
Like
you.
if it's something that bothers you, if it didn't bother you,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
then okay, whatever.
Like,
You know what
we,
I
have,
mean?
we have our things. So,
Yeah.
So phone calls your thing.
I'm like with time, it's like it's just about like
Just
you know
respect my time.
exactly.
But you'd break up over that?
I don't know if I'd be mad. Like I'd be like to a
And
point where
then
it's like,
what?
can you change it or
Or what?
you have to like weigh your pros and cons. Like if that's on the con list and that's like there's 5 things or 3 things or
Yeah.
how many things on the con list and there's like 30 things on the pro list, then like come on, choose your battles.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
You know,
What? Okay. So
I feel judged.
no, listen.
Okay.
I've learned this much. I can't judge anybody because I definitely have things where I'm just like, they're hard stops. They're absolute no's.
Okay, what's a hard stop for you?
If a girl tells me shut up in a relationship, I'm breaking up with her.
Really?
100%.
Like,
I'll give her one warning.
Like, in what
I
way?
think I
like,
might have done that
like,
once.
No,
Or
no. Like,
yeah.
if we're in a fight,
and they're like, shut up. Yeah.
I've had in a fight, we're arguing, and I don't yell when I'm very. And I think I piss people off more because I'm just like, I'm not yelling at you. Like I'm just I'll argue, but I'm like, I'm not gonna like no. So I'm usually calm. I'm just like, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, whatever, or this didn't happen. This is what I'm saying, and I'll be very firm. I don't yell, but I'm firm, right? But if someone's yelling, and I've had someone's like, shut the fuck up, and I was like, hold on, and I know, like, I'm not even lying to you. We were in a relationship for over a year, whatever. And we got into this big fight, and she's like, "You should shut the fuck up." And I'm like, "Okay, this never will happen again, or we're done." And she didn't think I was actually serious because I'm like I didn't even care about the fight anymore. I'm like, okay.
I agree with
I'm
that,
like,
though.
I don't even care what we're talking about. I'm like, this will never happen again, ever again. You understand what I'm saying? And she's like, yeah, whatever. No. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And almost like a parent, but I didn't mean it came out that way because I'm just like, I'm so serious. But she was taking it yeah. I'm like, no. You're saying yeah, but I'm telling you, I'm looking you in your face. If you say this ever again, I will break up with you and we'll be done. And I will feel no way. I have no problem telling my family I broke up there because she just shut the fuck up to me. And I was like, nah. I have no problem telling my friends that. I have no problem saying we broke up because of this, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And then when she really got that, she's like, okay, I'm like, cool, we can continue this conversation. But that's I killed that in the butt immediate.
That's very
No,
Because,
I agree with that.
like,
and I think that it's important to set a standard of how you talk to each other.
Period.
When you're fighting.
100%.
Because it's easy to talk to each other kindly. Like the tone of my voice will change.
Yeah.
I'll get lower quick.
Yeah.
If I'm in a fight, you know what I mean? Like I feel like you can't. That's the most important time to respect each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you are about to snap. You know what I mean? And the way that you talk to someone when you are really just not fucking with them is. It's just it's important. It's more important than how you talk to them regularly.
And I think the reason, and you're gonna say something. I think the reason that is so serious to me is because a number of things actually. I was raised in an environment where I've heard my stepdad talk to my mom like that in ways as a kid, and I'm like, this doesn't seem right, as a kid, and then I'm very forward thinking in terms of behavioral traits. These are behavioral traits. If you're able to say this to me, this is in you, right? This is in you. There's nothing I do. This is in you. If you don't break it now, this will be in you. So if you're my partner, my plan, I would love to have kids at some point, sometime soon. If this is in you, there will be a time where a kid is in the room, in the house, and we're gonna get into a fight because we're partners. So we're gonna fight. Our kid's gonna be around at some point. That can never happen in front of our kid. And that can't just come out because you're mad. You know what I'm saying? So, even though we don't have kids together, I'm like, these traits cannot translate into our marriage if we're ever going to get married. These traits, so I try and kill them in the relationship stage. I'm just like, I'm not marrying someone with these traits. I'm just that's just how I am. No, you know? So it sounds silly because just shut up. It's such a respect thing. I'm just like, and I'm like, yeah, you might come from a house where that's normal. And I'm like, cool.
It's not silly at all.
That ends here. If that's what you're used to doing while I talk all the time, cool.
And I also feel it's unproductive.
Yes.
Are we talking to talk or are we talking to resolve the issue?
Right.
You know what I mean? Shut up isn't going to resolve the issue. I think
How?
I don't even know if I've said it. I think I might have said it once, but if I did say it, I said something once and the partner that I was with like he doesn't get angry. So, and his response was like, hey, he raised his voice, and I was like, I'm never doing that again.
That was like his first time.
Like I'm never, like, that was all it took, and I was like, I'm never talking to him like that again. You know?
What were you gonna say, Z?
But what's your thing? Like, what's your thing that, like, if they do it, you're like, nah.
Well, two things.
Or, like, one strike, you're done.
Very quickly, like, you said something real quick that I don't even think you realized was really big when you said, this is something I have no problem telling people I broke up with this person over. Right? I feel like a lot of the main reason why people stick in relationships that they shouldn't is because they're too afraid to deal with the fallout that comes with it. 100%. Not just with the partner, but having to explain the story, like the damage control, all this type of stuff. So most people just aren't comfortable with having to go through that.
I feel like that's why you shouldn't tell a lot of people your business. Like, I feel like...
Because then it affects your decision making.
Like, I don't talk about my relationship. The only people who know about my relationship are, like, people that are very close to me. Because those are the people that care about me. And I have really, like, good friendships, like, online friendships with, like, a lot of people. Like, I have, like, deep conversations in my DMs. Like, all the people that follow me and that I follow, like, there's a lot of, like, kindness there. But at the end of the day, like, it's Instagram, it's social media. Like, a lot of people just want to know your business because what else is there to do but, like, know about your business. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's not wise to put your relationship out there because it's not always going to be good. Good energy. That's how relationships are. They're up and down. And, like, just having people see, like, for me, it's like, okay, I know that if something were to happen and I had to go tell my friends, like, I'm not with this person anymore, I wouldn't feel any type of way. Like, no one would judge me, like, nothing. You know, I don't even, like, even family. Like, you got to be careful with, like, even how much information you're sharing with family. Because, like, you know, older generations, they have different ideas of, like, how things should be. But I think that's, like, a really big thing. A lot of people don't want to... And even, like, you know, YouTube couples and stuff. It's like, there's so many people that are like, you guys were perfect. And it's like, because they were just acting like that for everyone else. And those people don't even really care about your well-being. They're just entertained. You know? Like
that, the Toy Forever breakup thing? Like, wild. What were you going to say? Sorry?
I actually don't know. This is tough. Like, what's something that is my immediate hard no?
Have you experienced it before? I haven't because I have one because I've experienced it before. So I know.
Have one too,
so I know
I've
this.
Experienced it.
Like, if you never experienced it, maybe you don't have it.
A hard no for me was, it literally happened probably like my second or third relationship. Might be my second one, where I was dating a Trini girl, and I remember her saying to me, she was like, her grandmother or whatever, like, she didn't like black people or something like that. And immediately I was off of it. Like, I was just like, all right, it's
just like having a racist.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a hard no for me. Cause, like, personally, and I think this is kind of like, I don't want to say it's like a fucked up thing about me, but I think because I grew up observing, obviously we all observe our parents, whether they're together or separated, right? Like, for me, I've just seen too many families, whether it's my own personal one or my friends or whatever, where they just dealt with too much bullshit. I felt like as a kid, I was seeing a lot of people deal with too much bullshit. And I was like, this is something that I don't want to have to deal with when I get to a point where I want to have a family. And for me, I just recognize that it's no matter how much I like someone, it's too much for me to ask this person to choose me over their family. And I know some people would truthfully do that, but I just don't feel comfortable putting people in that position. Now, granted, I was fucking young. I was like 18. I knew I was not going to be with this person forever. But I'm at that point. I knew that then, and I know that for sure now. Whereas, like, if I come in contact with someone whose family displays some type of shit, where I'm just like, I don't know if I like this, like, that's a hard no for me. I just can't. I'm not gonna deal with that. I'm not gonna deal with trying to change, like, your whole family to accept me, because that in itself is such a large undertaking that this relationship better work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It better work. 'Cause I don't know. I don't know if you guys have ever been in that position, but I've seen it. And I'm just like, this is something that I'm not willing to entertain. Yeah.
I was just watching you talk just now, and I think your chain has been rubbing.
It's not. It hasn't. Because I checked on there when I went through looking at the thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because even if it's like tapping,
I know. No,
I'm
we
like,
good.
anyways.
But no, I couldn't do that though.
Yeah, no, I haven't been in a situation where I felt not accepted by parents or family members.
I haven't either, fortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's just, I've seen it a lot, not just in, to be honest, I saw it more in relationships where we were both minorities versus interracial relationships. And obviously, I think I could speculate on why that is.
Yeah.
Maybe when I'm in an interracial relationship, the family is on like eggshells,
Yeah.
right? They're recognizing,
Yeah.
my daughter like is in love with someone not in the same race. Like maybe I need to check myself or whatever it is. But yeah, I've seen it with friends where Nigerian people can't be with someone from Ghana, right? Because the whole family, like that's not something I'm willing to entertain, right? Like,
try and change someone's.
And the problem is, the person that you're trying to be with, they already know this. Like they know that their family is this way.
And they're forcing it. They're trying to force it in.
And they're trying to make, like, it's almost not their fault. Like, they want to make it work because they actually really like you or they love you. Yeah. But the reality is, I don't think those people understand that now they have to change their family's behavior.
Yeah.
Because
for you.
For you. Like, do you really want to bring someone into your life knowing that your family might fucking excommunicate you, like do all these things? Like, if that's what you want to do, cool. Like, but those are conversations that are tough to have, but it is what it is. Like, this is not something I'm willing to deal with. Yeah. Doesn't matter if we're interracial, same race, whatever it is. Like, I could be dating another black person. I know how a lot of Africans feel about Jamaican people. So it's like, it's something I'm not willing to entertain unless I'm cool with you, you know?
Yeah. No, this was... What do you think? Was it good?
Yeah.
Was it fun?
It was good.
First podcast? No, you did great. No, this was... honestly, I feel like us three can talk forever about anything, really.
I know, I could talk about this for like the next 3 hours, honestly.
So, but we'll definitely have you back, because this was a good podcast, and it was great to have your perspective on things. So, there's certain things I wanted to address, which I'll address next podcast, because we just kind of went.
You sure you don't want to address it now?
Nah. Not yet.
Tell them where they can...
Yeah, we're going to find Chris Lowe.
On Instagram, it's the same thing, Chris Lowe.
Spell it.
CHRRISLOWE. And then my website's there, my YouTube's there, so yeah, you can just find me there.
Dope.
Book Black. Book Black. Until next week, guys. See you guys.
Peace.
Hello?
We need to talk.
We need to talk.
We need to talk.